Hello there YouTube, and welcome to another video. Today's video I am going to do an in-depth guide on my build Void Ice. I have gotten a lot of questions on my stream. I've gotten a lot of DMs. I've gotten a lot of DMs on Discord, in game, in my stream, requesting that I show my build, how it works, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go full in depth. I'm going to leave timestamps in the description below for each little segment that I do in this build, but we're going to go super in depth, and I am going to show as much as I can within my build, my thought process and all that. Before we get started, I do want to give a huge thanks to the person that really helped me with this build. You know, I didn't create this on my own. I definitely got help within people that I play with every day, and a lot of people that are in my company. One in particular, Six Path Simi, who is like #1 on the leaderboard in just about every war we've done in the past week, and even before that, before the merges, he was top 5 in just about every war as well. Does a lot of damage, does a lot of assists. He's a really great player, and he helped me a lot with this build. The reason I started running this build was because Fire Staff is like my favorite weapon in the game. So I really like being in intelligence. I like the gauntlets. I like the Ice Gauntlet. I really like the Void Gauntlet. When it first released, I leveled it up right away. It's an intelligence weapon as well, so I'm all in. But what happened was I was messing around and I was playing Great Axe Warhammer, and I played Outpost Rush, and I started 1v1ing my teammate in my company, Six Path, and he was running Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, and he absolutely destroyed me in a 1v1 situation when I was using the Great Axe. And I was like, whatever he's doing right there, I want to do that because he knows something I don't. So I started asking him questions, how does this build work? What's the best perks for this build? All that kind of stuff. And he helped me out a lot. So I want to give a huge shout out to where I'm getting all my information from. So he's not a content creator. He doesn't make YouTube videos. He doesn't stream or anything like that. So I do want to give credit where credit is due, because he really helped me make this build what it is. And so let's kind of dive into it. Once again, description, the timestamps will be in the description below if you kind of want to highlight different things, but I'm going to go pretty in depth in this video. It's going to be a long video on this build. So let's dive in. So the first thing I'm going to highlight is just what you see on screen right now, what my armor is, what my weapons are, what my jewelry is, how I got to the point that I'm at now. Right now, my stats as well are, right now I eat a piece of food to get my stats where I want them. So I used a glazed bear with sauteed vegetables to increase my intelligence by 24 and constitution by 16 for 40 minutes. This is what I use in wars, along with Outpost Rush as well. So when I eat one of these, it's going to boost my attributes to where I want them at when I am actually in PvP. So it's 299 intelligence, 200 con. I am 1 point away on my earring from being 300, 200. That is my goal right now. I still need to get a 600 earring with some decent perks to do that. So I'm 200 con, 299 intelligence. So I'll kind of go through all my pieces of armor, my weapons, my jewelry, all that, how they came about and all that. So the first thing I'll highlight is the helmet. So I use, to get to 200 con, I try to stay a lot of constitution in a lot of my stuff. So I rolled this heavy helmet with constitution, and I put nullifying oblivion on it. The perks that came with it were refreshing evasion and invigorate. The weakened, disease, exhaust, and rend expires. Not a bad perk. I do like that perk. I don't really like refreshing evasion. I would rather have resilient or refreshing. I prioritize resilient on all my armor over anything else. I definitely recommend you do that too. Resilient is like the best perk in the game because everybody likes to roll keen and vicious on a lot of their weapons, and people are always wanting to do crits, especially when they're hitting you in the back when you're trying to like run away or get out of a bad situation within wars or Outpost Rush, or it's just in PvP in general. You have to turn around and they're going to hit you in the back and they're going to hit a critical on you. So to reduce that damage, you want that resilient perk on if not all but most of your armor. I think it's one of the best perks in the game. I would like to have this helmet with resilient, but right now I'm going to use this because it's 600 and it has the nullifying oblivion perk. Because I'm using Void Gauntlet, that is a must perk on the Void Gauntlet, nullifying oblivion. You don't really want those weapon perks on your weapon themselves. It's almost better to roll them on armor. I'll kind of dive into that later. But nullifying Oblivion is huge. On activation, Oblivion removes limited duration buffs from enemies within its radius. So this is going to pretty much weaken them even more, and it's going to help your teammates that are meleeing inside that circle. So it's a huge perk. It's a must-have on your armor if you're using the Void Gauntlet. So the next piece, my heavy chest piece. So by the way, I'm staying in medium dodge for this. I don't think light armor will do it. I think you do need to, because of the playstyle, you're kind of getting in and out. You want to stay in medium dodge. I don't think heavy is necessary either. I think I think you're better off having the 3 dodges and being able to get in and out a lot quicker with medium dodge. Now there are multiple ways to stay in medium dodge. The way that I've done it and the way that I've just always kind of done it, and I don't really care to switch, even though it's probably not the best method, is I do heavy helmet, heavy chest, medium gloves, light pants, medium feet. So I'll do that one more time. Heavy helmet, heavy chest, medium gloves, light pants, medium feet. This will stay in 22.9 weight to stay in the medium dodge. So my heavy chest, I have Constitution. I did not roll this. I bought this off the store for 3K. Now, the only reason I bought it was because it is legendary. So it's 25 Constitution, and it has Resilient on it. That's the only reason I bought it. Someone was selling it for 3,000 gold. Don't know why. I would have bought it for probably anywhere between 5 and 10K, to be honest, for a 600 gear score piece with Resilient. The only thing I don't like here is it has a less elemental protection over physical protection. But, you know, for the $3,000 gold cost for Resilient and max stats and a 600 heavy piece, I saw the value in that. So I bought this off the market because somebody was selling it. They must have rolled Resilient on it and unfortunately got the Harvesting Luck and the Sticky Bomb perk. So right there, I do want to obviously get a better chest piece with better perks. But for now, Resilient and Constitution and 600 gear score is going to work for me in my build, so I'll take it for now, especially for only 3,000 gold. So that's what I'm using right now. I put a Malachite in it for a little more elemental protection, so that I don't so because of the split elemental physical armor rating there. So my gloves are basically best in slot. These are crazy. I had somebody craft me these. One of my friends crafted this 25 con. I have a video on this actual crafting of these medium gloves. I will not be upgrading these anytime soon. So 600 medium gloves with 25 Constitution. I have a Malachite in it for the elemental protection. Physical aversion, you take 3.8% less damage from ranged physical standard attacks. That's very huge, especially against a lot of the musket and bow users. Resilient critical hits, for 4.8% less damage. That's huge. And then I rolled these with Petrifying Scream because Petrifying Scream, once again, with the Void Gauntlet is a must perk. And this perk you have to have if you're using the Void Gauntlet, because the main ability that myself and everybody uses on the Void Gauntlet is the Scream for the root mechanic. So what this does as well as on successful hit, Petrifying Scream will not only root you, but it'll inflict disease, reducing the target's healing by 28%. For 10 seconds. So for the next 10 seconds, that person is not going to get healed for as much within Sacred Grounds, within the targeted healing. Not only that, but their pots too. So when they hit a health pot as their Scream, they're not going to get healed for as much either. So I do think that needs to get nerfed. I do think that the health pots shouldn't be affected by the disease. That's just my opinion. But that's a story for another time. So then my pants, these I had somebody craft me as well. I rolled intelligence on them because I didn't want to go too far into Constitution through all my armor and everything. I want to stay at 200. I don't want to go over because if you do Constitution all the way through on all 8 pieces here, you're going to be over 200 because the base stat of Constitution on all attributes is 5. So I did intelligence on my pants so that I didn't dip too far into Constitution, but I do want to stay at 200 con. So I didn't want to dip too far into that. So I rolled it with intelligence. So I rolled intelligence on it and I rolled resilient on it, and unfortunately I got the corrupted ward and the omnidirectional evade. But for now this is going to work because once again, resilient, huge perk, definitely a must. I'm going to want that on as many pieces of armor as I can, if not all pieces of armor, because resilient is probably the best perk in the game. And then my medium feet that I use, I bought these off the store as well. I tried rolling this piece of armor a couple times, couldn't get a 600 piece. From giving it to people, giving the mats to somebody that could roll 600 armor. I just couldn't get it. So I ended up buying these off the store for like $1,000. Once again, I don't know why somebody sold this for so cheap when Resilient and Constitution and 600 gear score is definitely worth at least 5k, if not 5 to 10k in my opinion. I mean, these are just huge stats and good placeholders until you can roll best in slot feat, you know what I mean? So I bought these off the store for like 1,000 gold. So I got Resilient on it, 600 gear score, 25 Constitution. As far as my jewelry goes, now these are a lot harder to get, and these are going to be a lot harder to get a best in slot jewelry pieces. What I have now, it's not too bad, to be honest. So I have an amulet. I crafted this. Now the mod that I put on there was the health mod for the health perk. I think that's a must on all amulets, is to have more maximum health. That's huge no matter what role you're playing: healer, intelligence, dex, strength, all that stuff. It's just better to have more health no matter what, especially in something like a 50v50 war. So I rolled this with the health perk. I got it, somebody rolled it for me. They got 600 Constitution, and I got refreshing on it. Now unfortunately I got luck, not the greatest for PvP obviously, but you know, for now it's a good placeholder until I can roll a better one. Now so as far as my ring goes, I rolled this with Keen Awareness. Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, you don't really need like Hardy and some of those other perks that a lot of the melee users and people that are in like light armor roll for like the extra stamina, for like an extra dodge and things like that, especially in like heavy armor, light armor, things like that. Medium armor, you don't need that. So I use Keen Awareness for the crit chance, because I'll kind of dive into the crit chance thing once I get to the Void Gauntlet, but crit chance is going to be huge. So this isn't too bad either, because I do use a lot of mana, so having more mana, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not ideal, it's not really what I want on my ring, but I'll take it. And Enfeebling, once again, not the worst thing in the world, because Oblivion does weaken people, and I use Oblivion all the time. So the fact that when I apply the weaken to people that are standing in my Oblivion, they're going to be affected by that for 14% longer. It's not the worst thing in the world, it's not preferred, but it is 600, it's Constitution, it's got Keen Awareness, and perks that definitely are useful in my build, but obviously they're not the best perks in my build that I would want. I don't really know exactly what I'd want. I'd have to look into it a little more, but this is kind of what I've been rolling with for a while now, since I've rolled it. So I'll kind of dive into my earring here. Earring, I am looking for a better perk than the Manatos perk. I would prefer to have it the opposite way around. I would prefer it to have the drink a mana potion, get health back, because that's just an extra health regen besides a regeneration pot and a health pot. Because the I don't know if people know this, but the mana pot cooldown is extremely quick, and it's a lot less than the health pots and the regen pots cooldown. So the fact that you can drink a mana pot and just get a little bit extra health back too, that's huge. So I definitely prefer that over the perk I have, but you know, at the same time, not the worst perk. Another perk that I think is huge, if you haven't seen my video on this, be sure to check this out, but I think that the Purifying Toast on earrings is huge as well. That is going to be the when you drink a regen pot, lose 1 debuff. I think that's a huge perk as well, because this actually gets you out of root. So once again, if you haven't seen the video that I made about that perk, go ahead and check that out. It's my latest video as well. But what I rolled on this was the Refreshing Toast, potion cooldowns 28% faster. I think that's like a must on all earrings, because everyone's potting all the time in wars and outpost rush. It's just a huge perk to use. So I think that's a must to roll on all earrings, and that's what I rolled. I still need to get 600 for this, and then I will be 200, 300. That's the last thing I'm looking for. And now as far as weapons go for Ice Gauntlets and Void Gauntlets, the Ice Gauntlet, this is almost a must. If you're going to roll Ice Gauntlet for a long time and you're going to be rolling Ice Gauntlet in any type of PvP, I think this is probably the best Ice Gauntlet in the game. I'm sure you can roll something better. People have their opinions, but this is such an easy thing to get as well, because it doesn't take much. All you need to do is get to 200 Arcana by just crafting a lot of potions. It doesn't take too long. Just grind it out, and when you get to 200 Arcana crafting, you can create the Crystalline Curse yourself. It's an automatic 600 automatically with these perks. Now the reason these perks are so good on the Ice Gauntlet is you don't want Keen or Vicious, because these are going to be a lot of damage over time abilities and damage over time damage that you're going to be doing, especially with like Ice Storm, Ice Wall, Ice Spike, those kinds of things. You don't really need critical chance or critical damage on those. It is nice to be able to light and heavy attack and do a little more damage with if you do hit a crit, but I think Enchanted is a way to go on an Ice Gauntlet for light and heavy attacks, and then Refreshing Move. Light and heavy attacks will reduce your cooldown, so you can keep spamming those ice storms, those ice walls, ice spikes, entombs, things like that. An Unending Thaw is an extremely huge perk, so that when somebody runs out of your ice storm, they're still affected for 2 seconds, and that's huge because they're just running really slow. Another thing about that too is that the frost effect remains on enemies for 2 seconds after exiting ice storm. So what this means is when they are running out of the ice storm and they are completely out of the ice storm, right? And you heavy attack them, even though they are not in your ice storm, because they are affected by that frost debuff and you heavy attack them, they will get rooted for 1 second. So you can actually stop their movement even though they're out of the ice storm. This is huge. This is a huge mechanic for slowing people down and allowing some of your melee people to catch up to that person, so maybe they can get a reap off, a grab, a Path of Destiny, a shockwave, all those kinds of things to be able to just completely stop that enemy from running away. So this is a huge this is a must. You definitely should get the Crystalline Curse, especially for how easy it is to get. Now I say easy because you kind of have to grind it out, but it's a lot easier to get this than just crafting a Crystalline Curse, obviously, you know, something like that. So I definitely recommend getting this if you're going to go Ice Gauntlet, Void Gauntlet to get the Crystalline Curse. Now, as far as Void Gauntlets go, one Void Gauntlet I see that is very popular is the Nothingness. That is going to also be Arcana Crafts. That is an automatic roll of 600. You do need the Void Crystal Core, which is a drop from humanoid creatures, to craft that. The only thing I don't like about Nothingness is it comes with like 10 focus, and so it's a split attribute. It's like 20 int, 10 focus, and I don't want those 10 focus because I don't do any healing. Like I do healing, but like that's not my main purpose here, is to heal people. So you know, I just don't see I think it's a waste of 10 attribute points to have that focus on it. So in my opinion, I think you're better off actually rolling a Void Gauntlet with 30 intelligence and then rolling it with Keen for critical chance. So once again, critical chance is going to be huge on the Void Gauntlet because I'll go back to the Void Gauntlet in a second, but I just want to highlight why you should roll Keen on the Void Gauntlets. And that's because the Void Gauntlet has a lot of different things when you're hitting criticals within the tree. So one of them is 10% cooldown reduction on all abilities on a critical hit. So this is going to reduce your cooldowns, being able to Scream, Orb, Oblivion more often, Blade if you're using that. Another thing is on critical hits, gain equal to 50% of damage done in health. So you're actually get like a little bit of life stealing every time you hit a crit. So that's going to be huge. And then 10% critical chance while all abilities are on cooldown. So if you're spamming all your abilities, right? You scream them, you throw Oblivion down, then you throw an Orb of Decay, or you throw an Orb of Decay at people, then you go into them, scream them, throw your Oblivion down, and you're out of abilities, and then you're attacking with the Void Gauntlet. You have a higher chance of hitting crits. So that's just going to stack on top of. That's going to be, if I had to guess, it's probably additive, not multiplicative of the Void Gauntlet. So it's probably going to be with the crit chance, the Keen perk. So it's just a higher chance of hitting crits. Another thing too that I have now, this is not my ideal Void Gauntlet. What I would prefer, and that I've been told is a better roll, is to have Keen Vicious and then Keenly Empowered. Keenly Empowered is going to be when I hit a crit, then I am empowered and I can do more damage with the Void Gauntlet. So if I scream everybody and I hit a crit, now I'm empowered. If I throw in an Orb of Decay at all of them and do damage over time and do kind of a or throw down Oblivion, it's going to do more damage with both of those abilities after I scream people. So that's going to be huge. Now that's going to be like $150,000 or 150,000, gold item. That's like a best in slot type of Void Gauntlet. So it's not too easy to obtain. I think if you're looking for a good placeholder, if you can get a Keen Vicious 599, 590, anywhere in there, Void Gauntlet, I think you're definitely chilling with that. If you're going to get a 600 Void Gauntlet with 30 intelligence and you get Keen on it, I think that's a good placeholder, no matter what the other perks are, until you can get something better. This is the best one I've gotten, so I'm kind of rolling with this. I'm still trying to roll better Void Gauntlets to get a better one, but this is what I'm rocking with right now. Mortal Siphoning, not the best. When you kill something, gain mana, but it's not horrible. With the Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, you do use a lot of mana with all the abilities, so it's not the worst thing in the world. And Enchanted, doing more damage with light and heavy attacks, not the worst thing in the world either. So I'll take this for what it is at the moment. Okay, so now I'm going to roll into the tree that I use for both the Void Gauntlet and the Ice Gauntlet. So the Void Gauntlet, I don't use either of the ultimate abilities. I just don't see myself proccing these enough to be extremely useful. I think if you're using Void Blade, I think that you definitely need this this ability. But since I don't use Void Blade, I just don't see myself proccing this enough. I was using it and it just would never actually come about. So I said screw it and took it off and used some of these different perks. So the way I use the Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet build is I use Scream, Oblivion, and Orb of Decay for my abilities. The Scream obviously is going to root them, and with Petrifying Scream, you're going to be able to root them for longer if they're under 50%, and Petrifying Scream, you're going to be able to disease them and allow them to not get healed for as much, and you gain Fortify. So just to roll through some of these perks, I use Forsaken Pact, 10% damage while below 50% mana, 10% critical chance while above 50% health, 10% cooldown reduction on all abilities on a critical. I don't use the Harvest Essence to get my health back because it's just really not worth, in my opinion. I think you're better off just when you are using this, you're right-clicking to get some of your mana back. Just find a Sacred Ground somewhere and do it in there, and that way you don't really take as much damage. It's really not that huge. Another thing about mana is you can just hit a mana pot, all your mana's back pretty much, along with Entombed. If you really need mana and you want to Entomb and then get all your mana back that way, you can. So I don't use this, I just don't see the value in it. On critical, gain equal health to 15% of damage done, that's a must. 5% cooldown reduction on all abilities when successfully hitting enemies afflicted by 3 or more debuffs. So I didn't use this for a while, but the guy that I got my build from and that helped me out a lot, Six Path, told me that he gets his Orb of Decay back really quick using this perk. So I throw that on as well. And then gain Empower when casting abilities within 5 meters of an enemy, increasing damage by 10% for 5 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. This is huge, especially when you are screaming people. So you're jumping up into them and you're getting within that 5 meters so that you can scream them, and you're gonna gain empowerment from doing that. So that's a huge huge perk. So Decay, Orb of Decay I use as well. This is huge because if you pop it onto somebody, it's going to do a lot of damage if it does proc the damage phase of Orb of Decay and it doesn't do the healing one with the Disintegrate, but definitely use the full tree of Orb of Decay. And then I use the mana costs are reduced by 25% while above 50% mana. This is huge because you're spamming a lot of abilities with this build. You're very ability dependent outside of the light and heavy attacks within Ice Gauntlet and Void Gauntlet. Within this build, you're very ability dependent on a lot of things. So mana costs reduced by 25% is huge while above 50% mana. And then another thing I use is cooldowns are reduced by 10% per second while performing Harvest Essence. Now, Harvest Essence is that right-click ability to deplete your health but gain your mana back. So sometimes if I'm in a situation where I really need my Scream to help out my teammates, my melee buddies that are in a point in a big clump, or they just grab somebody but I don't have a Scream to help them out, sometimes I'll just right-click for a few seconds really quick to get my Scream back, run up on them, scream them, they all die. So I think this is a big perk. Another perk that I think is very good is some of these heavy attacks to get more healing back and like help with the debuffs. If you want to use those, go ahead, but I don't really heavy or light attack with the Void Gauntlet too much. I mainly use the Ice Gauntlet for that. So now we'll kind of jump into the Ice Gauntlet here, the tree. For the left side tree, I do not use Ice Spike. I do not think that Ice Spike is good in wars, in my opinion. I think that if you are using Ice Spike, go for it. If it works for you, great. Me personally, I don't see the value in Ice Spike over Entombed. Entombed has saved my life multiple times because I have to dive in and get so close to enemies a lot to help and play that support role. Sometimes I get in a situation where I've overextended myself or I'm caught in a lot of different CCs, whether it's grabs, shockwaves, paths of destiny, things like that, and people kind of catch me off guard. Entombed has saved my life multiple times to be able to stall there, wait for teammates to come help me, and then I can kind of get out. So Entombed over Ice Spike, in my opinion. That's just my play style. If you want to use Ice Spike, go for it. If you have fun using it, go for it. I'm not knocking Ice Spike, but me personally, I don't use it. But you pretty much have to use every skill on the left side with Ice Storm to get the ultimate chill ultimate ability, which is Ice Gauntlet abilities, chill targets, increasing the ice damage dealt to the target by 25% for 3 seconds. but I use just about every perk on the left side. I use full ice shower, full entombed, and then I use the increased movement speed by 10% in a frosted area. This is huge if I get in a situation where I'm caught off guard and I need to get away quickly and maybe I don't have my entombed back. Sometimes you can throw down, an ice storm or an ice wall, and when you're moving through those, you actually gain a little bit of haste and be able to run away quickly. There are clips of other streamers out there on my server that have tried to kill me and they don't understand how I'm running away so fast. And as I'm running away, it's because I have that increased movement speed by 10% in a frosted area and they don't realize it. So it's a good perk to have. So this is kind of my ice gauntlet perk tree as well. So if you want to pause the video and kind of look through that along with the void gauntlet, feel free to do that. And we'll move on to the next segment. So the next segment I want to talk about is the attributes. The reason I am trying to get to 200, 300 is I think it's just the best overall attribute distribution. I think 200 con is extremely valuable within my build because you're in medium dodge. So because medium armor, you're going to take a little more damage than you would be in heavy. I think 200 constitution is extremely important because of the 20% increase to armor. This is going to increase your armor rating, your physical and elemental armor rating, so you're going to take a little less damage with that 20% increase. Not only that, but you're going to be sitting at about 13k health as long as you have that amulet perk, the health perk on your amulet. Now I do want to hit that 300 intelligence threshold. One thing I really do recommend hitting, though, is the 250 threshold within intelligence, because the 30% duration to damage over time spells is massive. That's going to help your ice storms. That's going to help your oblivions. It's going to help your orb of decays, because that does damage over time as well. So that's going to be a huge perk to have to get to that 250 threshold. If you want to be at 250 intelligence and you want to just put the rest into con, I think that would work as well too. Me personally, I think 200 con is more important than having a high intelligence rating. I think the way I play and the way the playstyle works with the Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, for me is to play it more of a support role, to be a lockdown artist and kind of lock down people, you know what I mean? And put them in slows, put them in stuns, put them in a position that they can't move, right? And be able to peel for your teammates. If your healer is calling out that they need help, and you have a scream, you have an ice storm, you have an ice wall, you have an oblivion, which is an area of denial for people. All these things can help your healers stay alive if there's people diving them. In my opinion, having to get so close to melees all the time and having to get in and out of situations, I think 200 constitution is more important than dealing a lot of damage. Now, once you get to that point where you are at this point too, and you've kind of maxed out on your gear score, and you can hit that 250 to 300 range of intelligence and 200 con, and that's when you're going to really start shining, because you're going to be doing not only a lot of damage, but you're going to be really tanky as well and hard to kill. So when people start targeting you, it's going to be a lot harder, but they kind of have to, because you're doing so much damage. So another little thing to highlight too, what gems to put in your weapons. So I put the Malachite in my Crystalline Curse in the Ice Gauntlet for 12% damage against targets with an active crowd control, whether that's a slow, a stun, or a root. Now the reason for that is when I'm rooting people with Scream, or I root them with the Ice Gauntlet, if they're running out of Ice Storm or they're in Ice Storm and I root them, the next attack will do 12% more damage. Same with when they're slowed. If they're slowed running through my Ice Storm, it's going to do 12% more damage. So that's pretty huge as well. And then with the Void Gauntlet, I am hopping around all the time, so I just do the 15% damage while your stamina is not full. I almost never have full stamina while hopping and running up to a clump of people to scream them, throw Oblivion down, hit Orb of Decays. So I want that 15% damage increase while I'm doing that. Alright, so now for the last part of this video, and for this guide, I want to kind of dive into a little bit of the play style, the combos, the abilities, what you should be doing to actually help out your teammates, how you should be, trying to play, just the way I play and my recommendations. Now, if you find your own style and you find your own abilities that work, different combos, feel free to do those if something's working for you, but I just kind of want to throw down what I've kind of gotten used to, some of my habits and what I'm doing. So essentially, I do switch it up a lot. I try to not use my abilities as much as possible because you want to keep as many good abilities as you can up and off cooldown as much as possible, because the second you use an ability, it's on cooldown and you can't use it, right? So really use, ability management is huge in this game, and people don't utilize that concept enough. They kind of just ability spam, and then they're out of abilities and they can't do anything to actually help secure a kill or secure damage on the enemy players and things like that. So I do switch up things a lot, quite often, but typically what I do is if I see a teammate that has thrown a grab well into a clump of people, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm either going to run in and Orb of Decay them, and what that's going to do is cause some damage over time. It's also going to inflict some of those debuffs onto them as well with Orb of Decay. Another thing that I'll do is, instead of doing that as I'm running up, I will just run up, scream the multiple people or one person, throw down Oblivion. So now that's doing damage. It's also weakening them. It's also empowering myself and my teammates. And then I will Orb of Decay everybody. This will do a lot of damage and will get the enemy down to about half health with the right combo and the right empowerments and the right abilities. So it's huge. Not only that, but now all those people that I just screamed can't heal. They're weakened. They can't move. All that stuff. So to secure those kills, if I am in a 1v1 situation, to secure those kills sometimes, I will scream them, throw Oblivion down, I'll get away from them so they can't stop me from doing anything, and then I'll pop that Orb of Decay right on top of them. That's going to do a lot of damage. And then now at that point, they're weak, right? They just caught 3 abilities to the face within a matter of like 2 seconds, and now they're pretty weak, they're diseased, they're debuffed out of their minds. What are they going to try and do? They're going to try and run away. So to stop them from running away, I'll throw down my Ice Storm, and I will try to heavy attack them to root them, to stop them from moving, right? Don't pay attention to these numbers, because on the dummies, the numbers are like you're hitting somebody that has like no armor. So I wouldn't trust these numbers too much. Just more of using it to show you abilities and doing damage and stuff like that. But don't pay attention to the numbers on the enemies too much. These aren't too accurate actually. But once again, so I will scream them, throw Oblivion down, hop away, hit the Orb of Decay, and now when they're trying to run away, hit them with the Ice Storm so that they're a lot slower and getting ticked for damage, and then I will try to heavy attack them to completely stop them from moving. With the full combo, if they're squishy enough, it will kill them after even just one Ice Gauntlet hit, and it's pretty effective. So that's a combo where if I am completely safe in that moment, I am not being pressured, nothing can happen to me in this moment, and I've kind of flanked the enemy and I can stop them from doing something. That's kind of the combo I use to really try and secure kills and get kills myself along with assists. Now if I'm playing more of that support role, instead of doing all of that, I will try to find, especially in wars, I will try to find somebody that needs help. Whether it's my healers or people on points that are, if I see my teammate is weaker than the person that they're fighting, what I'll do is I will do the same thing. I'll try and scream them to stop them from moving, and instead I will try and throw like ice walls down after that. That way they're just completely immobile for a few seconds. They are literally not moving for a few seconds, and then I'll throw another Ice Storm down, and then I'll just try stopping them from moving. Now this isn't me trying to secure kills. This is trying to help my teammates from getting away. It's trying to help my teammates survive and all that. Peeling for teammates is huge. This is a very good peeling build to help teammates get away from when your teammate has overextended or they're in a sticky situation. If you see a teammate running away from like 2 or 3 enemies, hopping over and throwing an ice wall to stop some of them, and then maybe getting away, throwing an Ice Storm, and getting them to slow away while your teammate can run, and that's huge as well. Now another really big thing about this build is you don't really have any escapability besides staying alive with Entombed to maybe get some of your stamina back, get away and run and create some distance from yourself from the enemy. So that's huge. But another really big play style with this build is not only peeling and things like that, but just kiting and distracting, because at some point I have to die or my teammates are going to get away or my teammates are going to kill the opponent. So trying to target me is going to be a lot harder because I have so many things to slow you and things like that. But what I do is I try to kite a lot of people in. I'll show you guys a clip of me kiting a bunch of people into one clump and then performing an entire combo, and all those people die. So here is a clip from a war that I did recently. This is one of those moments where I see there's two things. There's the first fight I kind of get into that you'll see is I see a teammate in trouble. So what I do is I try to come and help impede for them to help them get away, or if they're in if it turns out to be a situation where he can kind of turn around and kill them, we can both like 2v whatever them and kill them. Then after that, I start running at the enemy team and I start kiting them around into a clump, and then they all die. So I'll kind of break this play down a little bit. I'm going to put it into a little bit slower motion. I'm going to mute it as well because then it sounds super goofy. I apologize for the really low bit rate. This was while I was streaming. I've been having a little bit of trouble with bit rate and the pixels while I'm streaming wars. It's only really in wars that this happens a lot, but so I apologize for the quality, but you can kind of see what's going on. So in this moment, I can see my teammate Sixpath is actually in trouble. He has 3 people on him, another couple of people starting to come over as well. He is in an ice storm and he is trying to get out. He just potted, so he's back up to full health. I am running up and I am about to scream all these guys. So I scream them all, lay Oblivion down, hit him with Orb of Decay, and now look how weak they are. They just took like half their health. So now what he's going to do is he's going to turn around and he's going to help secure some of these kills as well. This guy's got Berserk, I think, so he's not dying. He has that Undying perk. We had another teammate roll up and help secure the kill, and now they're all dead, and he got out of it unscathed. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to kind of help secure some of these kills here. Once again, I really apologize for the quality. It's not the best, but so essentially now my thought process is here is let me go find some more people. Let's go find some people to kill. So as you can see, there's just a bunch of people out here. I see someone throw a grav, I dodge it. This guy is targeting me. He's just running at me. I see a couple other people looking at me. This guy's looking at me. This guy's looking at me. I'm sure this guy is aware that I'm over here, but I guess he just doesn't care. But now I've caught 3 people's attention in this huge field, right? And these 3 people are now looking at me. What they're thinking is that I'm overextended, right? They think if they come over that I'm an easy kill. That's kind of the play style that you want to play sometimes, is you want to make the opponent think that you're just going to be some free guy running around in the back line, right? Like they think I'm overextended. This guy uses charge to try and get at me. This is kind of the concept I was talking about. This guy's just using all his abilities for no reason, right? He has no way to catch me now. He's used charge, he's used reap, all that stuff. So now he's just a sitting duck open the field. So I've just kited 4 people into a clump, right? And now they're going to try and hit me with stuff. So I dodge out of it. And now that I've dodged out of it and I am completely safe and all 4 of them are now caught in a grav well, what are they going to do? They're all going to die. So I scream them. I throw Oblivion down, hit them all with Orb of Decay. 1 guy's dead. I'm throwing my Ice Storm down to secure some of those kills so they can't move. And they're already dead. I didn't even need to throw Ice Storm down. So now 3 people have died, and now I have myself and a couple of teammates up in their backline, and now we're just pushing them back even farther. So, it's just being that distracting person. Now, if you have all your abilities up, all your cooldowns are up, and you see a clump of people in a war, and you can kind of run into them and try to like dodge some of their abilities. If they're trying to like grab you, they're gonna try and Path of Destiny. They're gonna try. Sundering, or they're gonna try like shockwaves and things like that, and they're gonna try and stop you for a second. You can try and dodge those, kite those guys into a teammate that you see, get them clumped up, and that's when you can scream them all, hit Oblivion, Orb of Decay them all, throw the Ice Storm down, and they try to push you. You still have Ice Wall up, and now if you get into a sticky situation where none of this has worked, you can Ice Tomb, and this is gonna distract 3 or 4 people, and then you can kind of dodge away, get back to your teammates, hit a pot. All those kinds of things. So this is a huge distraction, and this is why I think you need to run Resilient on a lot of those things, on a lot of your armor, is because you're so deep within the fight, within so many different people with melee and things like that, that you want to be able to stay alive as best as you can. So that's where the 200 con and the Resilient perks really come into play to help you out. So. But that is going to be it for this video. I really hope that this guide helps. I've been requested to make an in-depth guide for a while now, and I finally got around to doing it. So I hope this guide helps. If you guys have any questions, be sure to leave comments down below. Feel free to come into my stream as well, twitch.tv/Palmadelic. I stream just about every day. I do a lot of wars, PvP, outpost rush, all those kinds of things. And so feel free to stop in there as well. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later.